If you're over 60, there's a quiet danger hiding in your kitchen, one that looks healthy, feels natural, and tastes sweet. You've been told your whole life that fruit is one of the safest things you can eat. But what if I told you that at this stage in life, the wrong fruit eaten at the wrong time could silently raise your risk of a stroke? No warning, no pain. You go to bed feeling just fine and wake up unable to speak clearly with one side of your face numb or your balance completely gone. I've worked with aging adults long enough to see a pattern most people miss. It's not fast food or cigarettes doing the damage. It's daily habits that feel healthy but aren't anymore. Like that orange with breakfast, those grapes at lunch, a banana before bed. Your body in your 60s, 70s, and beyond isn't the same as it was in your 30s. The way you absorb sugar-handle medication and regulate blood flow has changed sometimes drastically. And yet no one talks about how certain fruits can interfere with your prescriptions, spike your blood sugar, or dehydrate your brain while you sleep. That's why today I want to walk you through 9 fruits, common, everyday fruits that could be silently working against your heart, your brain, and your independence. If you've ever thought, but it's just fruit, how bad could it be? This video is going to change the way you look at your plate, possibly for the rest of your life. 1. Bananas, the potassium trap. No one warns you about. Bananas. Soft, convenient, naturally sweet, and often labeled a perfect snack. For younger adults, that might still be true. But once you cross the age of 60, your body doesn't respond to food the way it used to, and that includes potassium. Yes, the very mineral that bananas are famous for. What most people don't realize is this. As we age, our kidneys don't filter as efficiently. If you're managing high blood pressure, diabetes, or are taking medications like ACE inhibitors or diuretics, your kidney function is likely already compromised even if your labs look okay. And when your kidneys slow down, potassium can start to accumulate. Bananas are one of the richest natural sources of potassium, with a single large one delivering over 450 millimeters. That's fine for a healthy 30-year-old, not so fine for someone whose blood vessels are narrowing and whose medication is already shifting electrolyte levels. Here's what can happen. Excess potassium alters the electrical signals that keep your heart rhythm steady. It tightens blood vessels and thickens your blood. And if these effects take place overnight, when hydration is low, circulation slows, and medications are active, it creates the perfect conditions for a clot to form in the brain. Let me tell you about a patient of mine, Mr. Leonard. He was 68, a retired engineer from Oregon who prided himself on living clean. No junk food, daily walks. And every morning he'd start his day with oatmeal, 2 bananas, and his blood pressure meds, usually with a glass of orange juice. One morning, Leonard collapsed in his kitchen. He couldn't lift his arm. His words came out scrambled. A scan revealed he'd suffered a small but damaging ischemic stroke. His labs told the rest of the story. Elevated potassium levels, abnormal heart rhythm, and restricted blood flow to the brain. His healthy routine, 2 bananas, plus his medication had been silently pushing him toward danger. The problem: no one had ever warned him. Here's the truth that so many seniors are never told. You don't need that much potassium, especially not all at once, especially not at night, and especially not when your kidneys and medications are already under pressure. Bananas, while natural, are potent. Eaten late in the evening, they can contribute to sticky blood-constricted arteries and blood clots forming silently while you sleep. So what can you do? If you enjoy bananas, keep them in your diet but cut the portion. Stick to half a banana a day, preferably in the morning, and always pair it with a protein or healthy fat, like plain Greek yogurt, or a few almonds to help slow the sugar and mineral absorption. Avoid banana smoothies, banana bread, or any large servings before bedtime. And if you're taking blood pressure or heart medications, ask your doctor how potassium-rich foods might be affecting your treatment. You don't need to cut bananas out completely, you just need to respect how they interact with your aging body. Because what was once considered a safe food at 40 may be creating silent storms in your system at 70. If bananas surprised you, just wait until we talk about grapes, the tiny sweet fruit that may be quietly inflaming your brain and triggering blood sugar spikes that leave lasting damage. 2. Grapes, the silent spike that strains your brain. Grapes are one of the most loved fruits among older adults, bite-sized, refreshing, and easy to snack on. They show up in lunch boxes, fruit bowls, and evening platters across America. Most people see them as light, natural, and harmless. But for someone over 60, especially those with underlying blood sugar issues or fragile blood vessels, grapes may be doing more harm than good. What makes grapes so tricky is how deceptively sweet they are. A handful of seedless grapes, especially the extra sweet varieties bred for modern tastes, can deliver a heavy dose of fast-absorbing sugar straight into your bloodstream. And because they digest rapidly, your body doesn't get much warning. Here's why that matters. As we get older, our insulin response naturally slows down. The pancreas works harder to manage sugar surges, and our blood vessels become thinner, more sensitive, and more prone to damage. A sudden sugar spike from something as innocent as a bowl of grapes can trigger a cascade of inflammation in the blood vessel walls, including those that supply the brain. When that inflammation occurs repeatedly, the lining of the arteries weakens. Microscopic tears form, and those small injuries become breeding grounds for clot formation. You may feel completely fine, no symptoms at all, but your blood may be thickening, your vessels narrowing, and your brain silently approaching a danger zone. Let me share a real case. Mrs. Geraldine M., 82, a retired librarian from Virginia, sharp as a tack, independent and health conscious. Her favorite mid-morning treat, a bowl of red grapes with tea. She believed fruit was the safest way to keep her energy up. On most days, she'd eat up to 2 cups between breakfast and lunch. Then one afternoon, while writing a birthday card, she lost her train of thought. She looked at the pen in her hand, but couldn't remember what she was doing. Her daughter noticed her speech was slightly slurred, and they rushed her to the ER. Doctors diagnosed her with a transient ischemic attack or mini stroke, a brief interruption of blood flow to the brain. Her labs showed sharp sugar spikes around midday, elevated inflammation markers, and signs of vascular stress. She wasn't diabetic, but her long-term A1C was creeping into the pre-diabetic range, and her blood vessels were showing early damage. Grapes weren't the only cause, but they were a daily contributor, especially because she always ate them alone, without fiber, protein, or water to slow their effects. So what does this mean for you? It means that how and when you eat grapes matters more than you think. Grapes digest, quickly rush sugar into your bloodstream, and if eaten on an empty stomach, particularly while dehydrated or under stress, they can set the stage for stroke conditions without warning. If you enjoy grapes, you don't need to give them up entirely, but treat them with caution. Limit your portion to a small handful, not a bowl. Never eat them alone. Pair them with protein or healthy fat like a few almonds or a slice of cheese. Eat them earlier in the day when your body is more active and better equipped to process sugar. And if you're managing diabetes, insulin resistance, or taking medications for blood pressure or circulation, talk to your doctor before making grapes a regular part of your diet. What seems like a simple snack can carry long-term consequences, especially when the brain's delicate blood vessels are involved. If grapes surprised you, wait until you hear what pineapple is doing to your brain while you sleep. Between its acidity, sugar content, and hidden enzyme activity, it may be one of the most underestimated fruits in the senior diet. 3. Pineapple, a sweet slice that may disrupt your brain while you sleep. There's something cheerful about pineapple. Its bright color, tropical flavor, and juicy sweetness make it feel like a guilt-free treat. Many older adults enjoy it after dinner, believing it's a light, digestive-friendly option, a healthy way to satisfy the sweet tooth. But pineapple, despite its sunny appearance, carries risks that most people in their 60s and beyond have never been warned about. Let's start with the basics. Pineapple contains a natural enzyme called bromelain. In small amounts, bromelain can help break down proteins, which is why some claim it aids digestion. But here's the catch. Bromelain also affects blood clotting. It slows platelet aggregation, your blood's ability to form clots when needed. For someone young and healthy, that's not a big issue. But for an older adult whose blood vessels are already fragile and who may be taking medications that thin the blood, it can tip the balance toward danger. Add in the sugar load, about 16 grams per cup, and the acidity of pineapple, and you've got a triple threat that few seniors recognize. Unlike apples or berries, pineapple has a high glycemic index. That means it causes blood sugar to spike quickly. And when consumed late in the day, especially after dinner or before bed, that sugar isn't burned off. It lingers in the bloodstream, triggering inflammation in blood vessels that are already more vulnerable with age. And then there's the acid. Pineapple is among the most acidic fruits commonly eaten. For older adults, this acidity can quietly cause silent reflux, especially during sleep. You may not feel burning or discomfort, but that reflux can lead to microaspiration, small amounts of acid entering the airway during the night, reducing oxygen flow and subtly straining the brain. I treated a patient, Mrs. Clara H., age 77, a retired piano teacher who had taken pride in her natural diet. She didn't eat desserts or pastries. Instead, she would enjoy a few slices of fresh pineapple after her evening meal, believing she was doing something good for her health. She'd been following this ritual for over a year. One morning, Clara woke up disoriented. Her balance was off. Her daughter noticed she couldn't find the right words when speaking. At the hospital, imaging revealed she'd suffered a small stroke affecting the cerebellum, the part of the brain that controls balance and coordination. Her lab work showed three concerning clues: elevated blood sugar, overnight signs of reflux-related irritation, and subtle changes in her platelet activity. No single factor caused her stroke, but together her nighttime pineapple routine, her medications, and her age had created a perfect storm. What felt like a smart choice fruit instead of cake had slowly been making her more vulnerable. This is the critical insight. At this stage of life, it's not just what you eat that matters, it's when and how. So if you enjoy pineapple, here's how to do it safely. Eat it earlier in the day, not at night. Stick to small portions, just a few bites, not an entire bowl. Never eat it on an empty stomach, and always pair it with a bit of fat or protein to slow digestion. If you're on blood thinners or heart medication, speak with your doctor about whether pineapple and bromelain are safe for you. Because while pineapple may seem harmless, its effect on your blood, your brain, and your medication can quietly shift the balance, and the damage may only appear after it's too late. If that surprises you, wait until you hear about watermelon, a fruit praised for hydration, yet under certain conditions may actually be dehydrating your brain and increasing stroke risk. 4. Watermelon, the hydration myth that could leave your brain starved. Few fruits feel as refreshing as a cold slice of watermelon on a warm afternoon. It's iconic from summer picnics to family barbecues. And for many seniors, it seems like the perfect snack, full of water, light on calories, and easy to digest. But here's the paradox. While watermelon is celebrated for its hydration, it can actually increase the risk of dehydration in older adults, especially when paired with common medications or eaten at the wrong time of day. How is that possible? Watermelon acts as a natural diuretic. That means it gently encourages the body to eliminate water through increased urination. For someone young and healthy, that's usually no big deal. But for someone in their 60s, 70s, or 80s, especially if they're already taking diuretics, ACE inhibitors, or medications for heart conditions, this effect can become dangerous. You see, as we age, our body loses some of its ability to retain fluids effectively. Our blood vessels grow stiffer, our kidneys work less efficiently, and our brain becomes more sensitive to fluctuations in circulation. So when fluid levels drop, even just slightly, your blood becomes more concentrated, thicker, slower to move. That sluggish flow increases the chances of clot formation, particularly at night when circulation naturally dips and blood pressure lowers. Let me tell you about Mr. Howard L., age 81, a retired military veteran from Texas. A disciplined man, he watched his salt intake, walked daily, and avoided processed food. But one habit he enjoyed was having a few large slices of watermelon after dinner. Better than ice cream, he'd say proudly. But what Howard didn't realize was that he was also on a diuretic for mild heart failure. Between the medication and the diuretic effect of the watermelon, he was losing more fluid than he realized, especially overnight. One morning, Howard got out of bed and felt dizzy. He collapsed in the hallway. At the hospital, doctors discovered his blood pressure had dropped dangerously low. Lab tests revealed signs of dehydration and increased blood viscosity, meaning his blood had become too thick to flow smoothly. A small clot had formed and lodged in his brain, causing a mild stroke that affected his coordination. He survived, but the effects were lasting. He now walks with assistance and struggles with memory and focus, all from something he believed was keeping him healthy and hydrated. This is the hard truth. Hydration is not just about water content. It's about how the body holds and processes fluids, especially in the context of aging and medication. And watermelon, when consumed carelessly, can do the exact opposite of what you expect. So how can you enjoy watermelon safely? Eat it earlier in the day when your body is active and better equipped to regulate fluid balance. Limit the portion, a few small slices is plenty. Avoid eating it before bed, especially if you take medications that affect blood volume or blood pressure. Pair it with a pinch of electrolytes like a tiny sprinkle of salt, or drink a small glass of coconut water alongside it to support fluid retention. And above all, speak with your doctor if you're on heart medications, water pills, or managing blood pressure. Because what feels hydrating at the moment could be slowly creating the conditions for a silent stroke. If watermelon caught you off guard, the next fruit might surprise you even more, the beloved morning orange. What's hiding inside that sweet citrus may be interfering with your medications in ways that no one's warning you about. 5. Oranges. The morning ritual that could be altering your medications. There's something comforting about oranges. Whether it's a glass of fresh squeezed juice at breakfast or a peeled orange shared with grandkids, citrus fruits have long held a reputation for health and vitality. Packed with vitamin C, low in calories, what could possibly go wrong? For many older adults, quite a lot. What most people don't realize is that oranges, like grapefruits, contain a natural compound called furanocoumarin, a chemical that can interfere with how your liver processes certain medications. It's not something you'll taste or feel immediately, but it can have profound effects on drug levels in your bloodstream, especially if you're taking medications for your heart, blood pressure, or cholesterol. Here's how it works. When you take a medication, your liver uses enzymes mainly from the CYP450 system to break it down. This keeps the drug at a safe therapeutic level in your body. But when you consume furanocoumarin found in high amounts in citrus fruits like oranges and grapefruit, it can block those enzymes. That means your medication might not break down properly. It either builds up to toxic levels or it passes through too quickly and becomes ineffective. For someone over 60, this interaction becomes even more risky. As we age, our liver function naturally slows and our sensitivity to medication increases. The margin for error shrinks. I remember one case clearly. Mr. Elbert B. 79, a former school principal from Georgia. He'd been prescribed a statin for cholesterol and a calcium channel blocker for blood pressure. Every morning he started his day with a glass of homemade orange juice, something he believed was supporting his heart health. But over time, he began to feel lightheaded in the mornings. His muscles ached. He had occasional chest discomfort and brain fog. One morning he collapsed in his living room. At the hospital, tests revealed an ischemic stroke caused by a clot in a small cerebral artery. But the deeper issue lay in his blood work. His medication levels were dangerously elevated, despite taking only the prescribed dose. Doctors traced the root cause back to his morning orange juice. The coumarin had been blocking his liver enzymes, slowing down drug metabolism. His heart medication was building up. His statin was accumulating in his bloodstream. And that imbalance had led to unpredictable blood pressure swings, vascular inflammation, and eventually a stroke. The most troubling part, Elbert thought he was doing everything right. This is a reminder that not all healthy habits remain safe as we age, especially when medications come into play. So if you're taking prescription drugs, particularly statins, blood pressure meds, or blood thinners, here's what you should know about oranges. Limit your intake. An occasional slice is usually fine, but daily juice or multiple servings may cause trouble. Avoid large quantities of orange or grapefruit juice, especially in the morning when your liver is most active in drug metabolism. Ask your doctor or pharmacist whether your current medications are affected by citrus compounds. If you enjoy citrus flavor, opt for safer alternatives like clementines, or use a small splash of lemon or lime in water instead of full glasses of juice. Because what's sitting in your fruit bowl could be quietly interfering with the medications keeping your heart and brain protected. And if you think oranges are the only innocent-looking fruit with a hidden edge, just wait until we talk about apples. The next section may change everything you thought you knew about America's most iconic health food. 6. Apples, the hidden sugar surge behind a healthy image. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. It's a phrase we've all heard since childhood, simple, comforting, and deeply ingrained in our understanding of healthy living. Apples are handed out at hospitals, included in senior lunch programs, and often chosen over cookies as a smarter snack. But here's the surprising truth. Not all apples are created equal. And for older adults, especially those managing blood pressure, diabetes, or cognitive changes, certain types of apples eaten the wrong way can quietly increase your stroke risk. The problem isn't the apple itself. It's the type of apple, the timing, and what it's paired with. Let's break it down. Many of the most popular apple varieties today, like Honeycrisp Fuji and Gala, are specifically bred to be sweeter. They contain high amounts of naturally occurring sugars and have a higher glycemic load, meaning they send sugar into your bloodstream quickly and aggressively. For a younger person with a healthy metabolism, that sugar gets handled efficiently. But for someone over 60, especially with insulin resistance or blood pressure fluctuations, this sugar rush can set off a chain reaction. Blood sugar spikes sharply, insulin floods the system to bring it down. Then comes a rapid crash leading to fatigue, hunger, or dizziness. But it goes deeper. Those sugar spikes thicken the blood, increase vascular inflammation, and over time damage the delicate lining of your arteries, including those that supply the brain. Once that lining is compromised, micro tears can form. Your body, doing its job, rushes to patch the damage with clotting agents. But in older, narrower vessels, those clots don't always dissolve. Sometimes they linger. And one day, all it takes is one small clot in the wrong spot to block oxygen to your brain, triggering a stroke. Let me tell you about Mrs. Louise H., age 81, a former school principal who had lived an impressively healthy life. She walked every day, took her medications faithfully, and avoided junk food. Her daily snack, a large Honeycrisp apple every afternoon, no sugar, no chips, just a fruit she trusted. But Louise didn't realize she was insulin-resistant, a condition that doesn't always show obvious symptoms. Over time, she began noticing mild vision blurring in the evenings and a strange pressure in her head when standing. One evening, she slurred her speech while preparing dinner. Her daughter rushed her to the ER. Imaging revealed a minor ischemic stroke. Her lab results showed unstable blood sugar patterns and signs of vascular inflammation. Her medication had been doing its job, but the repeated sugar surges from her daily apple were slowly wearing down her vascular system. A small clot had formed, likely during one of those high sugar episodes, and finally lodged in a narrow artery. She recovered, but the message was clear. Even the most wholesome food can become risky if the context isn't right. So how can you eat apples safely? Choose low-sugar varieties like Granny Smith. They contain more brain-protective compounds and have a lower glycemic impact. Never eat apples alone, especially if you're prone to sugar crashes. Pair them with a slice of cheese, nut butter, or a few walnuts to slow absorption. Avoid sweet apples late in the evening when your metabolism slows and your body isn't equipped to handle sugar efficiently. And if you're managing blood sugar, ask your doctor how even natural sugars might be influencing your condition. Remember, it's not about avoiding apples entirely. It's about understanding how your aging body handles food differently. What fueled you at 40 might be silently stressing your brain at 70. And if apples gave you pause, just wait until we talk about cherries, the small, colorful fruit that may be thinning your blood more than you think, especially if you're already on medication. 7. Cherries. When too much of a good thing can turn dangerous. Cherries are often celebrated as a superfruit rich in antioxidants, anti-inflammatory, and heart-friendly. You'll find them on healthy aging lists, added to smoothies, and recommended for joint pain or better sleep. Their vibrant color and natural sweetness make them a favorite among older adults looking for healthier dessert options. But what many seniors don't realize is that cherries, when consumed in excess, especially while on certain medications, can quietly increase the risk of internal bleeding or even a hemorrhagic stroke. Here's why. Cherries contain salicylates, natural compounds that behave much like aspirin. They thin the blood slightly by reducing platelet activity, making it harder for the body to form clots. This can be beneficial in moderation, especially for someone at risk of clotting-related issues. But if you're already taking medications that thin the blood, such as aspirin, warfarin, clopidogrel, Plavix, or even certain herbal supplements, adding large amounts of cherries to your diet can push your system too far. The result, blood that doesn't clot well when needed, and vessels that become vulnerable to spontaneous bleeding. As we age, the brain becomes more fragile and small blood vessels, more prone to rupture under stress or pressure, changes, especially if the blood becomes overly thin. Let me introduce you to Mr. Daniel R., 84, a retired railway mechanic who prided himself on staying active and eating clean. After a mild heart attack in his late 70s, he was prescribed a daily low-dose aspirin, along with medication for blood pressure and cholesterol. He followed his regimen carefully and believed he was doing everything right. Every night after dinner, Daniel would enjoy a generous bowl of fresh cherries, a habit he started after reading about their benefits for inflammation. He'd even freeze them during the summer to enjoy year-round. For him, they were a symbol of health. Then one morning, Daniel awoke confused with a pounding headache and trouble forming sentences. At the hospital, scans revealed a small bleed in his brain, a hemorrhagic stroke. It wasn't due to trauma or uncontrolled blood pressure. His vitals were stable. But his blood work showed something alarming. His clotting ability had dropped far below normal, not because of a medication overdose, but due to the combined effects of his prescriptions and his daily intake of cherries. The cherries had unknowingly amplified the blood-thinning effect of his medications, weakening his vessel walls to the point of rupture. He survived, but with speech challenges and reduced independence. The lesson here isn't to fear cherries, it's to respect their potency. Like many natural foods, their benefits come with boundaries. If you enjoy cherries, here's how to do it safely. Limit your intake. A small handful is fine, but avoid large bowls or cherry-based juices and concentrates. Avoid cherry supplements or extracts if you're already taking any medication that affects clotting. Speak with your doctor if you're on a blood thinner, and regularly include cherries in your diet. And never assume that natural means harmless, especially when your body's already navigating complex medication balances. As we grow older, the space between helpful and harmful gets smaller, and even something as beautiful as a cherry can tip that scale if we're not careful. Up next is a fruit that may seem even more innocent, a staple in brain-boosting smoothies and brunch buffets. But strawberries may be carrying hidden dangers of their own, from pesticide exposure to uric acid triggers that silently increase stroke risk. 8. Strawberries, a sweet bite that may come with a toxic cost. They look harmless, Bright red hearts shaped and sweet with just a touch of tart strawberries are practically the poster child for healthy eating. They show up in brain health smoothies, fruit salads, and are often served in retirement homes as a safe dessert alternative. But for older adults, especially those with existing vascular issues, gout, or compromised detox systems, strawberries may carry risks that go far beyond sugar. The first issue: pesticides. Year after year, strawberries top the Environmental Working Group's Dirty Dozen list, a ranking of fruits and vegetables with the highest levels of pesticide residue even after washing. These aren't trace amounts. These are persistent chemical residues that can accumulate over time, especially in people whose liver and kidneys are no longer functioning at youthful efficiency. As we age, our body's ability to clear toxins slows down. And when those toxins linger, especially neurotoxic pesticides, they begin to interfere with brain function, increase oxidative stress, and weaken the small, fragile blood vessels in the brain. Over time, that damage may not show up as illness. It might appear first as slight memory, lapses, dizziness, or a growing sense of mental fatigue. But beneath the surface, chronic exposure to these chemicals can promote inflammation, disrupt nerve signaling, and increase the risk of clot formation in already vulnerable arteries. The second hidden danger: purines. Strawberries, while not the highest purine fruit, do contain moderate levels of naturally occurring purines, compounds that the body breaks down into uric acid. For many older adults, especially those with a history of gout, kidney disease, or hypertension, this becomes a problem. Elevated uric acid doesn't just cause joint pain. It also contributes to vascular stiffness, elevated blood pressure, and microvascular damage, all of which raise the risk of stroke. Let me share the story of Mrs. Elaine C. 80, a retired choir director from Michigan. She loved strawberries, picked them fresh every summer, froze them for winter smoothies, and kept a small bowl by her recliner for after-dinner snacking. Better than cake, she'd say. And on the surface it was. But over time, Elaine began waking up with a dry mouth, occasional numbness in her hands, and bouts of joint pain that didn't quite match her arthritis diagnosis. One morning, she couldn't feel her right fingers. Her speech was slightly off. At the hospital, scans confirmed a small ischemic stroke, a clot blocking blood flow to a portion of her brain. Her labs painted a clearer picture: elevated uric acid, signs of oxidative stress, and a pattern of low-grade inflammation. Her doctors suspected that years of regular exposure to pesticide-laden strawberries, combined with her medications and slow detox function, had contributed to the perfect internal storm. She survived, but she now lives with some memory gaps and persistent nerve tingling in her right hand. What's the takeaway? Strawberries aren't evil, but they're not as innocent as they seem, especially when consumed daily in large amounts or from conventional sources. If you enjoy strawberries, here's how to reduce the risk. Always buy organic. This is one fruit where organic truly makes a difference. Wash thoroughly even organic berries and avoid imported frozen blends with unknown growing practices. Limit frequency a few times a week, not every day. If you have gout, kidney issues, or are on blood pressure medications, speak with your physician before making strawberries a daily habit. Be cautious with smoothie mixes or pre-blended frozen fruits, which often contain strawberries from bulk international suppliers with lax pesticide regulations. Because sometimes the danger isn't in the fruit itself, it's in how it was grown, how often you eat it, and what your body can handle at this stage in life. And if strawberries made you pause, just wait until we explore mango, a tropical delight that might be quietly disrupting your medication balance and flooding your system with more sugar than your brain can afford. 9. Mango, a tropical treat that can disrupt more than just your blood sugar. Mangoes are often seen as nature's candy. Soft, juicy, and bursting with flavor, they're a favorite in fruit salads, smoothies, and so-called heart-healthy snack packs. Many seniors turn to mangoes as a natural alternative to dessert, something that feels indulgent but still wholesome. But here's what most people don't realize. For aging adults, mangoes can quietly push the body out of balance, especially when it comes to blood sugar, blood pressure, and how medications are processed. Let's start with sugar. A single cup of ripe mango contains close to 45 grams of natural sugar, more than what you'd find in a glazed donut. And unlike complex carbs that digest slowly, the sugars in mango are rapidly absorbed, causing a swift rise in blood glucose, followed by a reactive surge of insulin. In younger bodies, this may lead to a brief energy boost. But in older adults, particularly those with prediabetes, insulin resistance, or blood pressure instability, these spikes can create internal chaos. When blood sugar rises quickly, it triggers inflammation, causing blood vessels to tighten and thicken. Over time, repeated spikes damage the lining of the arteries, including those in the brain. The body's response: it sends clotting agents to repair the injury, which can lead to clot formation in already narrowed vessels. But that's not the only issue. Mangoes also contain plant compounds that can interfere with liver enzymes, particularly those in the cytochrome P450 system. This is the very system responsible for metabolizing many prescription medications, including those used to treat heart rhythm disorders, high cholesterol, and hypertension. One compound in particular, mangiferin, may slow down the liver's ability to break down these medications. The result: drug buildup in your bloodstream even when you're taking the correct dose. This can lead to unexpected side effects such as dangerously low blood pressure, irregular heartbeat, dizziness, or in the worst case, a stroke. I once worked with Mr. William B. 83, a retired firefighter from Nevada. He was diligent about his health, took daily walks, avoided junk food, and swapped out cookies for dried mango slices, something he saw as a smart, natural upgrade. He was on several medications: a beta blocker for heart rhythm, a statin, and a diuretic for mild heart failure. After a few weeks of his new snack habit, William began feeling dizzy in the mornings. Then one day he fainted while getting out of bed. His wife found him disoriented with a slight facial droop. At the hospital, imaging showed a minor ischemic stroke. Blood work revealed elevated drug levels in his system and dehydration-related blood thickening, a combination that created the perfect conditions for a clot. The likely culprit: his daily dried mango intake, which had been overloading his liver's ability to process his medications while spiking his blood sugar and contributing to dehydration. He recovered but now lives with mild cognitive decline and impaired coordination, daily reminders of how a seemingly healthy fruit nearly cost him everything. So what's the safer path? If you love mango, enjoy only small amounts, a few bites at most. Always eat mangoes earlier in the day, never before bed when circulation slows and medications are still active. Avoid dried mangoes; they're more concentrated in sugar and more likely to contribute to dehydration. Pair mango with protein or healthy fat like plain yogurt or nuts to blunt the sugar impact. And most importantly, talk to your doctor if you're on any heart, blood pressure, or liver metabolized medications. At this stage in life, your body has less room for error. What once felt harmless or even healthy can now tip the scale toward instability if eaten mindlessly. But don't worry, all hope isn't lost. In the next section, we'll talk about fruits that truly support your brain and circulation without interfering with your medications or overloading your system. Because the goal isn't to fear fruit, it's to use it wisely with the understanding and self-respect that only comes with age. What you can eat: brain smart fruits that support, not sabotage your health. After hearing about 9 common fruits that may increase your stroke risk, it's natural to feel confused or even betrayed. You've likely spent years believing fruit was a safe haven, a symbol of clean, natural eating. And for much of your life it was. But aging changes the game. As we get older, our bodies become more sensitive to sugar, more reactive to medications, and less forgiving when something disrupts that balance. That doesn't mean all fruit is off the table. In fact, when chosen wisely and eaten with care, certain fruits can still be powerful allies in protecting your brain, heart, and independence. So let's shift from caution to empowerment. Here are 5 fruits that do support the aging brain and circulatory system when consumed properly. 1. Berries, small but mighty protectors. Blueberries, raspberries, and blackberries are packed with polyphenols, anthocyanins, and antioxidants that actively reduce inflammation and support blood vessel health. What sets berries apart is their low sugar content and high fiber, which means they don't cause blood sugar spikes. They also don't interfere with common medications. Just a small handful a day can boost memory, circulation, and mental clarity. 2. Green apples, tart, balanced, and brain-friendly. Unlike their sugary counterparts, Granny Smith apples are lower in glucose and higher in brain protective compounds like quercetin. Eaten with a source of fat or protein such as almond butter or cheese, they provide gentle, sustained energy without the metabolic roller coaster. They're also high in fiber, which supports gut health and glucose control. 3. Avocados. The fruit most people forget is a fruit. Yes, avocados are technically fruits and among the best you can eat. They're rich in monounsaturated fats, which help maintain stable blood pressure and support nerve health. While they do contain potassium, it's released slowly into the bloodstream, minimizing the risk of sudden shifts in heart rhythm or vessel tension. 4. Lemons and limes, powerful additions, not snacks. While you wouldn't sit down and eat a whole lemon, a daily squeeze of lemon or lime into water or meals can support liver detoxification, aid digestion, and gently stimulate circulation. Unlike high-sugar citrus fruits like oranges, lemons and limes contain minimal sugar and don't interfere with most medications. 5. Pomegranate use with respect. Pomegranate juice is often praised for its antioxidant strength, and in small amounts it can be beneficial. But don't overdo it. If you enjoy pomegranate, dilute it with water and limit yourself to a few ounces per day. It's a medicinal fruit, not a beverage replacement, and should be treated with that level of care, especially if you're on blood pressure or heart meds. Your timing matters just as much as your choice. Perhaps the most overlooked part of fruit consumption is not what you eat, but when and how you eat it. For seniors, this timing can make all the difference. Avoid fruit on an empty stomach, especially in the morning or late at night. Never eat high-sugar fruit right before bed when circulation naturally slows, hydration dips, and the body is most vulnerable to clot formation. Always combine fruit with protein or healthy fats. This slows sugar absorption and reduces blood pressure crashes. And most importantly, listen to your body. Symptoms like morning dizziness, dry mouth, sudden fatigue, or brain fog can be early warning signs that your routine needs adjustment. Final thought. Eat with intention, not just habit. You are not fragile, you are experienced. And with that experience comes the opportunity to make food choices that honor your current body, not the one you had 30 years ago. Yes, certain fruits can be risky, but with the right knowledge and a little intention, you can still enjoy nature's sweetness in a way that supports your brain, your heart, and your independence. Because at this stage of life, food isn't just fuel, it's medicine, it's memory. It's the foundation of who you still want to be tomorrow. Make it count. Aging awareness and the quiet power of everyday choices. You've just walked through 9 fruits, all seemingly harmless, some even praised as superfoods that under the surface may quietly increase the risk of stroke, cognitive decline, or medication imbalances in older adults. If you're feeling surprised or even unsettled, you're not alone. Many people over 60 have followed the same health advice for decades. Eat more fruit, choose natural over processed, snack smart. But what most of that advice fails to consider is how dramatically the aging body changes and how the same foods that once supported your health can with time begin to quietly erode it. Your kidneys no longer filter with the same efficiency. Your liver processes medications more slowly. Your blood vessels become less flexible and your brain more sensitive to sugar pressure changes and oxygen flow. That means even a small daily habit, a banana before bed, a glass of orange juice with your pills, a bowl of grapes after dinner can over time create the perfect conditions for a stroke. Thickened blood inflammation, impaired medication, function, and silent clot formation. And the scariest part, you might feel completely fine until the moment you're not. As a medical professional, I've seen countless patients arrive at the hospital blindsided by a stroke. People who walked in healthy and alert one day and woke up unable to speak, to move, or to remember their own family the next. They weren't reckless. They weren't ignoring advice. They simply didn't know that food and aging don't follow the same rules anymore. But here's what I want you to hold on to. Knowledge is power, and you now have it. This isn't about fear. It's not about restriction. It's about precision, about choosing what supports your body in this season of life, not what worked 20 years ago. It's about reading the signals your body sends you, a dizzy morning, a foggy mind, a racing heart, and responding with wisdom, not habit. You've made it this far in life, not by chance, but through care, resilience, and experience. You deserve to stay independent, mentally sharp, and physically strong for as long as possible. And yes, food plays a leading role in that story, not just for nourishment, but for protection. So here's what I encourage you to do next. Take a look at your daily routine with fresh eyes. Ask yourself not just what you're eating, but when, how often, and what it's paired with. Speak with your doctor about how your medications might interact with the fruits and supplements you consume. And don't be afraid to update your habits. You're not giving anything up. You're just choosing with more clarity than ever before. Because the goal is simple and it's powerful. To eat in a way that fuels your future, not your fear. To make choices that honor both your history and your biology. To remain fully you alert, mobile, confident for the years still ahead. If this message resonated with you, I invite you to take a moment and reflect. What's one thing you've learned that you'll put into practice today? What change will you make, not out of fear, but out of self-respect? Share it in the comments. Let others learn from your experience, because your story might be the encouragement someone else needs. And if you found this video valuable, please consider subscribing for more science-backed guidance made specifically for older adults who want to take charge of their health, one informed choice at a time. Thank you for being here. And more importantly, thank you for taking care of yourself.